What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dojo Setting. I've been getting this question a lot lately, so today we're going to talk about, in my opinion, good things to do for a route setting interview. Before we dive in, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps me grow, helps me know what you guys like, so do that. Yeah, so I've been getting this question a lot. People nervous about route setting interviews, things like that. Well, what do I do? How do I, show this? So in my experience, a lot of route setting interviews, there is a verbal aspect of it, but a lot of it is practical. They want to see what you can do. So a couple of tips that I have. The first one, if you are doing a sport climbing interview, where they're going to have you set a sport route, it's kind of a subconscious thing. Maybe maybe your interviewer isn't actively thinking about this, but it'll look good. If you get to use any big feature holds, macros, stuff like that, put them up on the route. Don't put them down low. The reason being, it's easy to put a feature hold on the wall if you're standing on a 6-foot ladder, if you're standing on the ground. It's really easy, right? So if your route has a really big hold at the beginning and then all the holds get small as they go, inversely, if you have big holds peppered throughout your route, 10 feet off the ground, 20 feet off the ground, 30 feet off the ground, the higher it gets, the more effort you're putting into it. So that's showing them that you're willing to put in a little bit more work to make a good product. If you have feature holds just at the bottom, for me personally, it shows me that you're not really willing to put in the work to make an interesting climb. This is a big hold. I'm not going to put, I don't want to haul it up the wall. So if you're doing a sport climbing interview, I would highly suggest, if you get to use some bigger holds or volumes, put them a little bit higher up on the wall. Sort of opposite of that, if you're doing a bouldering interview, which more times than not is the case, if you get to pick the holds that you're using, I would shy away from the really big stuff. The reason being, if you go back and grab a bunch of big holds, this thing's not super, super big, but you know what I'm talking about. If you're grabbing really, really big holds, these things kind of set themselves, right? Like, you can put them on the wall and more than likely it'll be interesting to climb on. There's not to say that there's no thought that goes into these, but it's a lot easier to make a good boulder with big holds, right? Instead of using a bunch of big holds, maybe pick out some smaller stuff and show them what you can do with this. Because what you can do with a smaller hold like this shows a lot more of your skills and your abilities. It shows a lot more understanding of movement. It shows that you can be more creative because, again, everybody's drawn towards the big stuff. Everybody wants to use the big stuff. Everybody wants to climb on the big stuff. The big stuff sets itself. These don't. These can go really bad. They can go really well. So show them that you are creative, that you have a good idea of how this job works. Use smaller stuff. Now, if they give you big holds to use and say, we want you to set this, or if there's a very specific, we want you to set a comp style problem or whatever it is, by all means, use the big stuff. But if you go back in their hold room and you're just like, your assignment is V4 or whatever it is, pick out some medium stuff. Don't just immediately go for the nice big stuff. They're expecting that. Smaller stuff shows them what you can do. Along with that, a lot of people get nervous to critique other people's work, especially if you are an interviewee and you're supposed to be critiquing your interviewers' boulders. Absolutely do critique them. If you're going to be part of their forerunning process and all that stuff, make your opinion known. You know, even if you don't really have commercial setting experience, or if you do, maybe you only have like a year or two, you know, and you're interviewing with somebody who's been doing it for a decade, critique their stuff. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. If you're just being silent, that's not showing me that you can be an active part of the team. You know, everybody's opinion has value. You know, even if it's just something like, I really like how, you know, each move is consistent, or I really like this move in particular, it made me feel good. I wouldn't be very, very negative with the comments. You can have criticisms of the route, but I wouldn't say, yeah, dude, this thing sucks. I probably wouldn't say that. But, you know, it's like, hey man, that move kind of felt really weird. You know, maybe the foot out there is too far over. Let's bring it in a little bit. And, you know, giving them feedback that they can work with. But just being silent is not good. I don't need somebody to put routes on the wall and not be able to contribute. I can put routes on the wall. I want you to contribute. So make sure you're verbalizing your stuff here. Along the same lines of providing feedback to them, make sure that you're getting on boulders, which sounds kind of silly, but you know, let's say you're a very static climber and somebody sets a dyno. Get on it and try it. You know, at least that shows them that while you may not excel at that style, you're still willing to try it to provide feedback. You know, if you don't like the whole parkour comp, you know, style of setting, and somebody sets that, get on it. You know, as long as you're a team player, that's what they're looking for. Another good thing that you can do, you know, a lot of, you know, more conventional interviews, you know, the interviewer will ask, do you have any questions for me? I think some good things to ask, and a lot of this, you know, sort of pertains to when you're actually setting. Ask them about how they deal with screw-ons. Are they okay adding extra screw holes into holds to be able to screw them on? Ask them about blockers. Ask them about volumes. Ask them about stuff that's showing that you kind of understand how this job works. You know, and there are some facilities that say, yeah, no, we don't want you to screw holds, you know, we don't want you to add screw holes to the holds, you know, which is fine. If that's what their policy is, that's what their policy is. Piggybacking holds, you know, screwing a hold onto another hold. Ask them how they feel about that. Some gyms don't like doing it, which is fine. Some gyms do like doing it, which is fine as well. But just showing that you're thinking about these things shows them that you are actually interested in making interesting things. You know, I've said it before, I got this from somebody else, but there is a difference between a route setter and a hold installer. So show them that you are a route setter, not a hold installer. Yeah, if something goes wrong during the interview, you know, you get a spinner, you know, something happens, be the first one to volunteer to take care of it. You know, if you're only there and you know, you put up your boulders and, you know, whatever, that's fine. But if we run into some, you know, speed bumps along the way that slow us down, just like, hey man, what can I do to help? How can I help fix this? Do you want me behind the wall with vice grips holding onto the T-nut? Do you want me, you know, what can I do to help? And sometimes there are things that are obvious. You know, they don't want to tell you to go do something. You just need to know to go do it. And for me, the biggest thing is attention to detail. So, you know, making sure at the end of the day, everything that needed to get done is done. Make sure that there are no bolts or screws on the ground. Make sure that start tags have been put on. Make sure that anything that would need a set screw has one. Just all those small minor things do add up. Just spend a little bit of time. Make sure that all those small details are taken care When you are setting something for an interview, honestly, you could argue it both ways. However, I would say for the interview, set something you're comfortable setting. The reason being, it's not going to take you as long, which means you're showing them that you can be efficient at what you're doing. And also it's something that you're comfortable in, right? If somebody asked me to stand up and talk about politics for 30 minutes, I'd freeze up. That's just something that I'm not very passionate about. But if you were to tell me, hey, talk about climbing, route setting, talk about Marvel or DC, I'm a big comic book nerd too. Yeah, I can talk for days about that. So stuff that you're comfortable with, honestly, I would stick to that and show them that. Especially if you're interviewing for a position and you're trying to get out of your comfort zone, that's not a bad thing. However, for an interview, it's like, hey, set this boulder. Well, I'm going to try to set something that I'm not good at. It could take you a really long time. More than likely, they'll probably need to help you get it to work. And it just doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't put off a great vibe. I'm all for, getting out of your comfort zone setting, but maybe after you get the job. While you're interviewing, you're there to try to show what you can do, what you can provide for the gym. So, if you have a move that you're really comfortable setting, set that move if it's appropriate for the grade. Be comfortable. Because when you are comfortable, you are confident. And when you're confident, it looks good. Also, I've had some people ask about this as well. They said, well, the application says they want commercial setting experience. I've never worked in a commercial gym before. I've only worked at a university, or a rec center wall or something like that. That's honestly better than setting just for a home wall, or not at all. Because for a home wall, more times than not, you are the target audience. So you are setting for yourself. That's great. I can set for somebody my size, but showing, even if it's not a commercial gym, if it's a rec center, if it's a university, you're still catering to an audience that's not you. So that does add value. It's like, okay, 6 foot tall, 6'2" wingspan, but he knows, or has experience trying to let, smaller people climb as well. If I can set a boulder for people who are 5'5", that's great. So even if you don't have commercial setting experience, that rec center experience, that university experience still looks better than not putting it at all. I think those are going to be all my tips for now. If you guys have any questions about interviews, comments on anything I said, I'm sure we'll argue about the sticking within your wheelhouse during the interview. Let me know it down in the comments. I'm more than happy to to have a conversation, or hopefully maybe provide more insight if you guys have any other questions. Thanks for watching. We have a ton more coming. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. Helps me put out videos faster. And we will see you next time.